welcome back. We are here tonight with none other than Big Will from Panama. I appreciate you getting on tonight for Black Expat Life. We are excited to get into not only Panama, but this whole move abroad thing. It is something that is hitting pretty much everywhere. Everywhere from the internet to the local gossip back at home in the United States. And people are trying to figure out how to actually go about it. So we want to get into Panama because one, that is one of the top destinations when people are putting into their Google searches and looking at the results, what comes back. But two, get a little bit behind just what a Google search can give you and understanding what Panama has to offer you as an American, as a Black American, possibly looking to move abroad, trying to narrow down what some of these destinations are. And then lastly, we'll get into what the next time you'll be able to get all of these destinations figured out in one place. We have a conference that's coming up later, excuse me, about a month from now, and this gives you the opportunity to see three places in Colombia, gives you the opportunity to see Panama, Mexico, as well as South Africa. So we will be starting with Panama as our destination for the evening. And Big Will, appreciate you just coming, taking the time out. I know you are always the most busiest guy in Panama. Thank
Uh,
you.
Appreciate it, brother. Appreciate it. And look, I'm ecstatic and happy to be here. I appreciate the work that you're doing. I think that is definitely needed at this point in time, and anything I can do to help get people to safety, I'm all for that. So,
You said safety. That is an interesting way to put it. And considering what is going on and what has been going on, a lot of people may be having the move abroad thought process as a means of safety, literal physical safety. But there's a mental safety that is no longer something that comes at an ease in the United States. And I think a lot of people are starting to weigh all of what comes with staying in the United States versus charting into the relative unknown. And we're here to kind of give everybody an opportunity to take what seems unknown, what seems extremely foreign, and put reality to it. Let you see people that look just like you that have actually made the move, but not only made the move. We've actually been the people that have helped ushered other people into this move, helping them navigate how not to fall into these particular pitfalls that we see so many people on the internet with the negative stories that come out with Move Abroad. Well, it may be a reason, not all of them, but there may be a reason you'll see more and more stories of this coming out because people are going on a journey and they have a book bag full of nothing. There's
mhm.
no tools, there's no tips, there's no education, there's no resources, there's no time, intent invested into the journey. It's just an empty book bag full of air that we could consider hopes and prayers, thoughts
Right.
and wishes, the same old American dream that we've been tied up in. So let me ask you, because safety is something very important when considering leaving and reaching back to help guide others safely. If you think about it from a very broad sense, you can see how maybe people like us have been doing these things for years during different times and migratory periods. And
Mhm.
now it's with a phone and now it's with a computer. What led you to even want to be in a position to help others land where you are?
Oh well, that's a great question. When we first made the move close to 5 years ago, the sense of freedom and peace that we found was just immeasurable. And I'm the son of a pastor. I was taught to share the good news with everybody, and that's immediately what I started doing. I started talking to my camera and, first of all, explaining to my family and friends why we were making the move. And then, lo and behold, other people actually watched that. I put it out on YouTube just for my family and friends, and then other people started watching it and asking questions. And I immediately saw a need to be able to provide good information. And at the same time, my wife and I were new expats ourselves, and going through the acclimation process, learning the lay of the land, and bumping our head on the low hanging branches, and stubbing our toe on the
Mhm.
stumps that we didn't see. So I wanted to make sure that if we were going to be providing information and helping people establish a quote unquote pipeline, a roadmap for them to follow us by and get to safety. Because 5 years ago we moved during COVID, so it was
Mm.
definitely top of mind. Safety was top of mind at that point, but we wanted to make sure that the information that we're providing is good, actionable information, so that people don't bump their heads the same way we did. There's so many places to get information, and I know a lot of people are helpful, but sometimes it's a little dangerous just getting information from strangers on the internet, and the chat groups are really good and everything, but just make sure that the information, double check some of the stuff that you hear with people, because we were told some things by well-meaning expats who thought that they understood something and they really didn't. They were in a new country too.
Mhm.
They're
Yep.
learning too. So you have to take that with a grain of salt and make sure that you're working with someone that is reputable. I'm licensed by the Panamanian Tourism Authority. They actually monitor my social media and YouTube channels to make sure what I'm putting out is up to their standards. So just you want to make sure that you're getting access to that good information, because this move is serious, and there's some mistakes. We made some serious mistakes. I can personal experience. One of the biggest mistakes I made coming in was negotiating a lower rental price on our monthly rent for the first year by paying everything in cash for that first year. And I was so proud of myself, dude. I got like $250 off the a month, so I'm calculating what the annual savings were, and I'm dancing and everything. And then everything was copacetic, but what we didn't know what we didn't know. The apartment wasn't what we thought it was going to be. Things here come fully furnished, and that means different things to different people. And the furniture was just killing me, literally killing me. I
Mhm.
thought I was getting sciatica. I was seeing an orthopedic specialist, and we ended up moving out of that apartment in under 6 months. We found out that it was
Wow.
easy to lease in Panama, so for safety and health reasons, a decision had to be made to just forego the rest of that rent, because he was not in the mood to give us the money back. So that was an expensive lesson that I had to learn, but I did learn it. And
Mm.
now I try to make sure other people don't bump their heads against the same wall.
Speaking of bumping your head on the same wall, that sciatica story gave me it gave me nightmares, and when I first got there, because I mean I'm not somebody that's 7 feet tall. I'm not 6'10", I'm not 6'8", I'm not even 6'5". I thought I was just a normal tall. But I tell people, because you thought you were doing something, let me go and take 12 months of the rent and negotiate a lower price monthly, and that is going to cover me based off of me being able to negotiate, taking what I knew from America and going there and doing something positive for myself. But I tell people, like, don't ever do. That's why I start shaking my head. One, because you need to know who you're renting from before you get that deeply in bed with them. To give them that amount of money, even if it's $1,000 a month, that is a large amount of money overseas and places where I would like you need to kind of like date the person a little bit, just your landlord or whoever you're renting from first. But with the bed situation, I think a lot of people aren't realizing that every bed is almost like Goldilocks with 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 the her trying to beds out and everything, because me finding a king size bed in Colombia is very difficult, and me finding a bed that is king size as well as not feeling like I'm laying on the floor can be difficult as well. So when navigating some of these things, it's like the practical conversations that they're going to have with themselves. But it's the other things that I tell people: when you're running out of a burning house, you are going to forget a lot of things that are important You're gonna get the big stuff. You're gonna get your healthcare. You're gonna get your real estate. You're gonna, but there's some things, some nuances that you're just going to forget because you are in a position of my safety feels a little way right now. So navigating and helping people to navigate through this process of moving abroad. And I tell people I'm not saying the only people that can give Americans the real double sided situation of the move abroad of where you are and what your expectations are Americans. I wouldn't say we're the only ones, but we just know what you have been through because we had to take the steps.
Hmm.
Even if you are so you give a certain caterance to the people that we are able to work with, because it's like we actually are here because we don't want you to deal with what it is that we dealt with.
Hmm.
And not understanding the great interweb of it all is because we can't touch everybody. But what I tell people is, at least when it comes to black travel, we are all connected, even if we don't know each other. Your success or non-success. You know how many videos I get that shows me from friends or fellow Americans that may not even know me and say, "Well, did you see this video about the girl that had a bad time? Well, did you see this?" So you
Yeah.
affect us in a way where it's like this could scare somebody off because one person had a bad time and the video moment went viral, not realizing that they went outside on the journey. They didn't even have rations and was going for a 30-day journey and didn't have anything to eat, no water, not a compass, not a map. And that's only what people will see. It will break through the noise of all of the American craziness because it's like, well, the alternative is to get all your stuff stolen here. So I might
Mhm.
as well just stay with what it is that I know versus what it is that I'm seeing other people live. So we are at a crossroads where I think it's going to take more of us, bro, that are in our positions to be in these destinations, to put the time and the energy to move abroad and do it intentfully to be able to reach back, because
Mhm.
there are going to be more destinations that are getting lit up. I see it. The numbers are too great as far as the influx of people that
Mhm.
in January of this year did not have moving abroad on their radar one bit, and now are consistently typing in, where's the top places for Americans to move abroad? Where's the top places for Black Americans to move abroad? My favorite one, is there racism abroad? Those things are being influxed into the algorithms because people are trying to figure a way out. So I asked you when you said you weren't going, you left during COVID. I didn't happen to leave during COVID, and it's not COVID right now. Was that the only reason that you left the United States?
No,
Tell
no,
me what that was.
that was just one of the last straws that precipitated us leaving the United States. So the conversation about leaving the United States really started with retirement. We knew we were both working in DC, great incomes, dual income household, but we were already struggling with where we were, and then thinking about retirement. How in the world are we going to afford to retire in Washington D.C.? So we started looking for cheaper places to retire. And one of my Morris brothers, or my roommate, is the one who mentioned Panama first, and I actually clowned him because all I knew about Panama at the time was Noriega and the canal. But he was a smart dude, so after I finished clowning him, I double checked his work. So it turned out he was right. And my wife and I agreed. We came up with a list of 4 possibilities, and we agreed that we were going to start focusing our vacations in these places to, test drive them, kick the tires, see if we can actually survive there. And first on the list was Panama, and we bought the tickets for Panama before COVID hit, and then COVID hit. So we sat on the tickets, and during COVID, there were some other things that happened. So one of the things that happened during that time period, you may remember, was Trump's first administration. And
Mm,
as people supporting the federal government, we got to see what he was doing up close. And he was already, uh, driving the truck off the road, so to
mm,
speak. So we had to deal with that up close. We were worried about the ramifications of that. We knew that the media wasn't talking about the stuff that he was doing; they were just focused on what he was saying. And you know, that was part of it. I'm 55 years old. My entire life, up until 4.5 years ago, was spent in the United States as a black man. So numerous examples of the black man
Hmm.
all that we get, often in terms of just driving and having to deal with police contact, or working in corporate America and having to deal with, daily microaggressions or people's attitudes that, okay, I must have played football to go to college. No, it was full academic rod player. I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
um, you speak so well and all that good, nonsense that you hear. So it was a combination of things that really started climbing up, but the match that lit the fire for us to get out was double fold. COVID on top of the racism, on top of the financial upheaval. Trump shut down the government for 2 months, and during his first administration, and that was just
Deja vu.
I
Like
mean, for
deja vu, man. We're right back here.
we're here all over again, and I think this time it's going to be more than 2 months. And I also think that when it's done, it's going to be a completely different government than what Americans are used to seeing. A lot of the services that you've come to depend on are going to be gone, and that's by design. They don't want you to have this. They want to privatize a lot of the stuff, and you know, it was a combination of things, RJ's, and the first thing that I did notice, though, stepping off the plane, I'm 6'2", I'm a big black dude. So when I'm in a room with law enforcement, they see me, I see you, we're establishing contact, and I'm watching you too. When I stepped off the plane here, there were national police officers standing at the top of the gate, but they didn't see me. They looked right past me. And it was such a relief. I mean, not to be seen, just to be an average person and not to be watched. And, after a few weeks of being here, I had the occasion, I was speeding and I got pulled over. So that was my first police contact in Panama. And after 50 years of it in the United States, here I didn't feel threatened at all. He never touched his gun. He was cheerful. It ended up being a lecture and not a ticket. So
Hmm.
it was just a complete breath of fresh air, night and day. So, you know, moving here
Hmm.
was it was a plethora of reasons, but high up on the list was the black skin that we live in, and now being in a place that's 96% black and brown is completely different. Yeah, so racism,
Hmm.
racism is everywhere, but it's not practiced the same. And I think that's what's
Yeah.
important for people to pay attention to is how it's practiced. In the U.S. we have a different brand of it. I mean, George Clinton and one of his songs said, "With the rhythm it takes to live through what we have to live through, we can dance underwater and not get wet." I'm no longer dancing underwater, so it feels
That's
good.
real. Nah. Yeah, no, that definitely makes a lot of sense because I tell people the racism is exactly, it's actually like water. It is everywhere in the world. Like you will find it in every corner of the world, and you don't realize how much American brand of it is. But we were talking about this earlier this week, and Black Americans don't realize that they're American. There is no cash value, and I don't really mean by cash anybody, but I mean there's no cash value to being an American in America. As far as a Black American, you can't utilize that like at all. That's no currency in your favor. The Even if you have a passport, it's not until you utilize it that it actually gives you any value, but you have to utilize it outside of America.
Mhm.
And when you are traveling and not having canned experiences, so I mean canned experiences, resorts. Resorts are a bubble. But when you are in a scenario where you're in with the people walking around, it is often the first time we as Black Americans are now treated like an American because we may be insulated from things that we were 1000% a part of. And it's a different feeling when you're abroad and you're used to certain things. But now that people realize that you're an American, you may be treated like you actually got money. Like
Mhm.
somebody might be treating you like now you've got finances that you may not have, but when you have a $30,000 a year job in the United States, it's not this glamorous lifestyle. I'm not saying that $30,000, but you'd be surprised how much 30,000 USD would go in other places and what kind of life it would give you. So it's oftentimes when people are moving abroad to places, Panama, Colombia, they're looking at this breath of fresh air that they're receiving and saying, I didn't even know that this exists. So take that, audience, as far as what are the possibilities. I want to get into Panama though, because you mentioned you had four destinations.
Mhm.
What were those other destinations? Did you ever get to see them? And if not, why?
Okay, so out of the four destinations, the other destinations were Portugal, Belize, and the Dominican Republic. The Dominican Republic is the only other one that we've actually seen in person. We never got a chance to see the others because we had the tickets for Panama, and once air travel started again, we booked to Panama as quickly as possible, and we had a whole list of red flags because at this point we kind of knew that it was really time to go. It was time to pull the emergency cord and get out and regroup. So we made the site visit to Panama in April of 21. Neither one of us saw any red flags. It was everything that we thought we saw. The infrastructure was here. We could tell the cost of living was going to be tremendous. The building that we were in, the rents were low, and we went to the grocery store and we quickly saw the difference in pricing there. We saw the difference in going out to eat. Um, Gas was cheaper. Panama gets all of its gas from the U.S. already refined, so they're really paying consumer prices. But the canal revenue subsidizes those prices for Panamanian citizens, so we pay less for the same gas here, and it's a lot less. I'm happy to be part of that subsidy coming from the canal, but we didn't see one of the things we feared listening to all the, different people and YouTube people was, uh, critters, snakes and scorpions and giant spiders and all that. The only thing I've seen so far is a big iguana. I mean, Panama's a jungle. I know it's here intellectually. You just don't see that kind of stuff most of the time, especially in the city.
Yeah.
In the beaches, yeah, you may, I know some folks that have had a scorpion come through their door. Not in these high-rise buildings, but in like the single-family homes where people leave their doors and everything open to get the fresh breezes. But it's not like it's kind of like growing up. We were watching all those. I'm a little bit. I'm gonna show my age now. Watching Incredible Hulk and $6 Million Man and all that stuff, and there were certain things that we
Remix.
thought were going to be real big problems. One of them was the Bermuda Triangle, and the other one was quicksand.
Quicksand. Quicksand was gonna be on your butt. It's gonna take you out.
Right. And it turned out in the real world, neither one of those were problems. So that's the analogy for the critters, for things
Nah.
people are afraid of the critters. So, uh, Panama hit all the buttons: the healthcare infrastructure, the U.S. dollar as economy. I don't have to do math, and I use the same dollar bills, no currency exchange, and then you know the lifestyle here. Panama's pretty close to the United States. We occupied Panama for decades, and they learn from us. So they love '80s music and '70s music. They love old school soul and R&B. I've been getting my mind blown going to these jazz clubs and watching these bands come up with Kool and the Gang and Bill Withers and Otis
Oh
Redding and
man,
everything. Like you can't speak the language, but
that's dope.
the words to Lonely Day. So it's an amazing thing. So that's why we chose Panama. Just it hit the buttons, and we didn't think there was any need to look any further. And the DR, the infrastructure is definitely not where it is. Portugal might have been where we wanted to be, but it's not 96% black and brown. So, and
Mhm.
honestly, part of our
Right.
problem was trying to decompress from 50 years of microaggressions and outright racism, then why in the world am I going to jump out of a frying pan to get into a fire? let me
Seriously.
let me go find some peace amongst
Yeah.
the
Um,
desperate.
I'm not looking to go personally anywhere that actually are the colonization headquarters. Um, so that's just my take on it. Like, if it was bad enough for the colonizers that I know to have left, like maybe I should just, maneuver around to other places. That's just my opinion. Now, I get a bunch of messages where people are in stretches of the world and are saying, well, it's not. It's interesting for Black Americans over here, and I'm like, well, you're in insert Eurocentric outskirts. One person was like, I think they said they were in Albania, and I'm like, I mean, sure, Albania, it's great, it's great.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. So that brings up a thing, though, because community is a lot of the reason why I moved to Colombia. There was a dual fold community. It was the Afro-Colombian community that was there. There was the Afro expat community, made up of Americans and people from Africa and Europe, and these things were very interesting to me. What does that look like in Panama? Like, some people may be looking from a familial perspective. Some people may be retired already. Some people may be digital nomads and working. Is it a mix?
Yeah, it's a really good mix at this point. When we first came, I think it leaned heavy towards retirees because of years and years and years of marketing to retirees. Every time you see Forbes or International Living or Fortune, and they put out the articles on the best places to retire, Panama is one of the places near the top of that list. So the first year we were here, we went out to Coronado, and we were surrounded by a lot of retirees who, rightfully so, who were living their best lives and going at it. We moved here as remote workers, so I'm in my 50s. My wife
Hmm.
was still in her 40s at the time, so we were. I don't want to say significantly younger, but we were younger than a lot of the people around us. And I know that comment. I had some friends, if they're watching, I'm going to pay for that one. But anyway, the truth is the truth. We were younger than you, so it was an adjustment for us, in that regard. Now, the diversity is definitely in Panama, but there's pockets where Panama is, you're living in a place that's not true Panama. Coronado, inside the gated community, is one of those pockets. It's really inside that gated community is really an enclave for wealthy Panamanians and rich Americans to play. So you're looking at about maybe 20, 30% African American expats. And then the Panamanians come in on the weekends and then they go back to the city to work and everything. So in that regard, it was kind of difficult getting into the culture because there was, we were listening to Wham. We weren't listening to, Ruben Blades or Celia Cruz or, or Mark Anthony or anything. Now in the city, that's
I know Celia Cruz. You lost me with Rubens.
yes. Look, she's my girl, but the city is way diverse. They don't cater. The city does not cater to North Americans. So, like in Coronado, it was a soft landing. We didn't have to speak a lot of English, even though we were trying to learn Spanish as quickly as possible because we're not colonizers. We want to speak the we want to speak the language. So, in the city, that's definitely much more apparent. And then you see a lot more diversity in the age groups in the city as well. So I'm seeing a lot more digital nomads come in. One of my relocation clients last year is the daughter of my Spelman sister. So she's 24 years old. She's a remote
Yeah.
IT worker. She's down here living her best life, and I know some others coming. So it's a wide mix. I'm starting to see a lot more people moving here as remote workers and still doing their careers. And, you know, so maybe half and half in the city as far as retirees and people still working and younger people. And then families. So I've moved in several families. One was a multi-generational family of 10. So it was grandparents and then the children and then some of the grandchildren. And there's another set that's coming in, another multi-generational set coming in. So grandfather's bringing his two daughters and then their children. Those, those kids gonna be like 20 years old. So you're
Yeah.
starting to see a lot more age diversity and people working. Everybody's not coming in on the retirement visa. Some people are coming in on friendly nations. Some people are using all kinds. There's about 26 different visa options that you can use for Panama. So we're really starting to see a sea
Yes.
change in that. Now, for me, I'm wondering if that is really part and parcel of what they see in the country, especially for the younger kids. Because I know if I were just finishing college, I'd be like, wait a minute, this is some garbage what y'all trying to sell me. You want me to
Yeah.
do this job at this wage, and oh nah, and then go into debt, and I'm already in debt from college, so I don't think the deal is the same for those 20 years old as it was for us when we were
Nah.
in there.
And honestly, um, 18 years ago for me, I'm literally in a situation where that deal wasn't all that great either. A lot of my peers are definitely looking at being going into our 40s and looking at America may not be the best place for me. I'm having this conversation more and more as my friends are seeing us being consistent with the messaging, with the information, with the content, and more so the knowledge sharing about what this opportunity looks like. And a lot of people, and that's why I asked, kind of give me an understanding of what the community there in Panama looks like from both the locals as well as the expat community, because one of black people's biggest things when before they actually go to leave their house and go somewhere, they want to know who's all over there.
Yes,
Because when we get there, that is it's multi-layered. It's about who do I know, who is like-minded, like when I get there, so I can have a good time even in a new environment. Those things will translate over to the life abroad in a way where I try to do my best to make things as easy as possible to understand and the way that I know Americans are receiving things. You remember when you used to do this? But what if you could still do this just in a different place or in a different language? I'll bring this question up because somebody asked, and I wanted you to jump in, especially because they asked about it. He asked about Cologne. If you had spoken on Cologne in Panama.
not yet, not yet. So I love Cologne. It's one of my favorite places to be. So Panama has 8 districts. They're like states to us, and Cologne is a district in a city, and it's on the
Okay.
Atlantic side. So it's on the Caribbean side of the country. It's a 45-minute drive from Panama City, and it's the heart of the Afro-Panamanian community here in Panama. So the descendants of all the people from all over the Caribbean that migrated to Panama in the early 1900s to build the canal, they're still here. And they
Mm,
brought all of their influences with them. So Barbados, Haiti, Dominican Republic, Jamaica, Virgin Islands is all here. And it's all mixed in with each other now. So we go up to Cologne to experience that rich culture. And the beaches up there are gorgeous because it's Caribbean, just like Cartagena,
mhm.
crystal blue waters and
Yeah.
white sands. Um, the one thing that you do notice about Cologne, and this is where racism comes in, although here I think it's more colorism and classism, but the effects are the same. The government here does pick winners and losers just like any other government. So the canal is a revenue generating beast, but they're not investing that money in Cologne, at least not for the residents who are there now. We are starting, since we've been here, we've seen an uptick in the investment around cruise ship ports and the free trade zone, and there's some resorts being built in Cologne that they're getting financed. They're about to build a new highway to make it easier to get to Cologne now. the
Mm-hmm.
local residents, some of which I work with to deliver these tours, like the guy that drives the boat and the woman that owns the restaurant on the beach where she does massages and we eat lunch and all that. They're happy about this stuff happening because it's going to be more people that get to use their services. And then the guy that's building the resort, he used local talent. So they were very, very happy about that. And they're looking forward to that so they can be a little bit more self-sustaining instead of, it's like none of the jobs, all the businesses are located in Panama City. So, there's some stuff,
Uh,
but it's just not, it's all industrial and everything like that. So you see some of the disparity. Now, what I will say, and this is just my opinion and my layman's look at it, again, the mechanisms for what they face are different here. The number one difference is the racism isn't deadly. Um, their cops don't kill citizens, so they don't have George Floyd's and Sandra Bland's and everything like that. You take death off the table, it starts getting a lot easier to work within that system, and you have a lot more options. And Panama does have a pretty good protest culture, and they believe in sustained protests, and they do work. So we've seen it work twice here, and I'm amazed because I never saw it work in the United States at all.
yeah, and you said something that I guess I really didn't. I hadn't put it on my plate to eat yet, but it was definitely in the kitchen. Like that's what it is. I think you said it perfectly in regards to it being a scenario where death is on the table. And
Hmm.
I don't think I've heard it as plainly put as that. And it's like that's why. Because I'm like, you can get like harassed by a cop anywhere, like, but harassment is different than is this the last walk? Like those
Exactly.
things are like vastly different. Not saying that these cops are automatically like no. I've met some weird cops in Colombia and weird cops in Mexico. I met weird individuals all over the place. But the deaf thing, that's something that is like on the shelf, like right there for you in America at any point, which is why when we have kids and you're telling them before they can even get behind the car wheel, this is if you ever go behind the car wheel when you get older, this is how you operate when you get pulled over. You're 8 years old, you're maybe 8 years from getting behind the wheel of a car, but so many of us grew up with this information being trauma passed down. It's passed down trauma of this is how to operate because death could be on the table. Whereas that right there is almost off the table. I don't think any situation I run into where I was like, yeah, this is the same feeling that I got when I said like I see people in police in Colombia and I'm like, they're like, hey, they're chilling. They're like eating something. They're like doing something that is extremely normal, not walking around a neighborhood like peering at people. Like, so
Right.
you had brung up a good point with that. And I know that people, I think he was bringing up Cologne because you mentioned he said he's from Haiti. The guy that asked the question because it's a mix of people, and it's so interesting for all of the people that want to know is racism abroad. The ism is abroad because all over the world where there are majority black communities, there's this weird gray area of what the hell is going on in the community, and it's always a very bountiful place, a very resourceful place. Yet we still see the exact same thing spread over different continents and then different countries and these continents. And it's just like, you think that's a coincidence? There's no way there's a coincidence. So I know it's a lot of people's thought process when looking to move abroad, what the racism is like. Let me ask you this on a more positive note, because you mentioned, taking your people that are coming to move abroad to in relocation to Panama. What does it look like when you go and show them Cologne? Like, how many opportunities are there for people living from America to be involved with the Afro population that is in Panama? You said it's 96%. Like, we are 13% of the United States. That has to be black and brown as.
Yeah. It is. It is. I mean, look, it's like being in Morehouse again. I go months without dealing with them. So the opportunities are immense. To roll up your sleeves. To answer your question, yeah, the opportunity to roll up your sleeves and get involved are absolutely immense. Since we've been here, we've connected with a local activist in Cologne. He's born and bred in Cologne, grew up there, came to the U.S. to attend Howard University, graduated, and came back
Nice.
to bring that knowledge back and work for his people. And we've worked with him on organizing all kinds of events. For instance, a year or so ago, he did a event bringing black dolls to young girls in Cologne. So there was a group in North Carolina that helped him facilitate this, and they just collected black dolls for like a year, and then they came down with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these black dolls, and these young girls and their parents had never seen a black doll before. So just seeing, yourself represented in that fashion, it was immense. And then the boys got bikes, and we fed everybody. So I was a food sponsor to help feed all the kids, and they had the bouncy uh, things going for the kids. It was just a really, really good day. We've done breakfasts like that for the kids. I led a group of black men here, and so that's building community. And one of the things
Yeah.
I tell people is, coming from the United States, we all have knowledge, skills, and abilities that can be used here to help make life better for our new neighbors that have opened up their doors to us. So let's roll up our sleeves, let's get involved, and let's start paying this country back for giving us the air cover to heal from the US and to be able to live our best lives. Because one of the aspects I want to make very, very, very clear to everyone, um, probably like you, we thought that this escape plan meant that we were giving up something. We gained a lot. We gained a lot. So my only regret really is not doing this 20 years prior. Um, we could have missed out on a lot of BS, and saved a lot of money. Every
Listen,
the health benefits would have been accelerated by then. But so there's opportunities to get back. We've done toy drives and food drives for Christmas. We've gone to local Catholic churches, and seeing the looks on these kids' faces. We dressed up in what was it? A Clifford the dog. I don't have kids, so I don't know these characters, but one of the guys, Mario Brothers, somebody had the big thing on, and look, RJ, they tried to get me to do it, and I was like, look, let me write you a tip because it's hot, it's hot, it's hot, it's humid here. I'm not trying to put this thing on my head and blow up. But we got involved. We got
that's
involved.
hilarious.
Went out there and delivered the food, and there's always ways to give back, and it helps build your community. It's a great way for you to meet other expats and get involved. And like one of our friends does a lot of volunteer work with dogs. She loves dogs, and she works with rescue dogs, and she helps expats get dogs and everything like that. So get in where you fit in. There's people volunteering at international schools. There's people in the community, helping to rebuild gyms that they use to play pickleball, and they're renovating the lights and everything so that the entire community can benefit from that. So there's all kinds of things that you can do to get involved. There's no excuse for not doing it, or not knowing what's going on, because it's going to be all around you once you get here.
Yeah, and that is 100% fact. I tell people the opportunity. You mentioned, people think when you say volunteering, it means just money, and it's like, everybody has their own skill sets and education and everything else. I think one of the reasons I really fell in love with Colombia was, I had the opportunity not just to volunteer, I had the opportunity just to hang out. and see how life was like. And at least in Medellin, it was very easy for me to find opportunities to go where all the black people and black Colombians were and have a beer. And maybe I don't know everything what everybody's saying, but I know this energy and I know this feeling. And I know a lot of people, when looking to move abroad, are hopefully looking for some of those opportunities where these things exist, because I tell people the opportunity to reconnect the diaspora, by black Americans integrating, being a part of the diaspora, seeing what these cultures are doing, Panamanian culture, Colombian culture. It's such a, it's something that you will, when you become a part of it, you're like, okay, I may not know exactly what is going on. But like I said, the energy of this. You take Colombians and Colombia playing bingo. They play bingo like we play spades. Now
Oh,
we align bingo with the senior citizen home, but bingo goes down like the spades tournament. It's like, all right, now I know exactly what this is, and then everybody plays like Uno. So it's just like these things are seen across the diaspora, and moving abroad sets the table for people to get the opportunity to just see people in their element. Never mind just a volunteer perspective, but you volunteering from a, I know how to start a business. America taught me that. You'd be surprised how many people I met that were in Colombia, and they were like, "Bro, like you have a business, like, and you have like yes, black people have businesses, but it's not like a wide range when it's given the opportunity to go to school and have multiple businesses. You'd be surprised what is given to us as ease, or the opportunity seems just right there, and you find that others didn't have the opportunity. So being in these communities, bringing this education that we got from Morehouse is like, you're more valuable than you actually know, and it has nothing to do with how much dollars that you have. Yeah, I got to get to Chico one day for sure. My folks are going to be on my ass about that. Somebody said that in the chat, because yeah, that is one of the places. Most of my friends that may have lived in Medellin, their families are from the Pacific Coast, and the things that they're describing, the things that they're bringing to Medellin and allowing us to be a part of, it's outrageous. Will, like, I never knew 10 years ago I would be here doing the things that I'm doing. Like, I would have thought myself, if I came back and told him, I'd be like, yeah, you're lying. Like, you live where, and then you know how to say this, and this. So it's just, what are you willing to do? Not you, will, but the people that are watching this, what are you willing to do to have some of these things, to leave what you may know as home base and what is you consider safe, knowing that it's no longer safe, and look somewhere else and seeing what it is it has to offer. Let me ask you, because I know you get a lot of DMs and messages. What is one of the biggest misconceptions people have about Panama that you have to correct all of the time?
ooh, that's a good one. So I know what my pet peeves are, but like my biggest pet peeve is it safe? And I'm like, you're coming from the United States. You have a mass
It's the
shooting
funniest
daily,
one.
daily,
Daily.
sometimes twice. So to me, it's like living in the Hunger Games. Anyone is familiar with the movie, these contestants were part of a lottery to be sacrificed on the altar for the capital. And in the United States, it's the same concept. You're in a daily lottery every time you wake up and go out your house to be sacrificed on the altar of Second Amendment, which reinforces white supremacy. So I'm not trying to die on the altar of Second Amendment, through no fault of my own, just because a straight bullet hit me. So I think as soon as you get off the plane, you're safer. Plus, half of Panama doesn't hate the other half of Panama. Misconceptions: rainy season. That's probably a good one. We only have two seasons, dry and rainy, and I think that word "rainy" really gets people twisted. So the average annual rainfall in Panama is actually less than the city of Atlanta. So rainy season just means this is when rain will fall,
Dude,
not that it's going to rain all the time. So people get
Yep.
that twisted.
People are used to like the jungle back in like they're like seeing something in Vietnam. Remember in Forrest Gump when the rain was slanted, it was coming up like this. They're like, nah,
Right,
I'm not living in the monsoon. Like it's not
right.
monsoon season, it's rainy
It's
season.
rainy season. We get a shower. Like right now, it's starting to get a little cloudy. It rained for like an hour around 1 or 2 o'clock, and then I went out, got the car fixed, and was walking around. And when I finished this, I'm gonna walk the dog outside because it's not raining. That's the biggest misconception.
Exactly.
But yeah, safety,
Nah, that's
safety.
real.
We're safe. We're safe. We're safe. We're safe. We're safe. There's a
Yeah.
lot of single women here. There's a lot of single women here. And let me throw this shout out because I see this question come up a lot. LGBTQ. Yeah, come on. You're safe here. It's a Catholic country, and it's surprising that they're as open to alternative lifestyles as they are, but they are. So no one's gonna pick at you. No one's going to do anything. And I don't know if people caught this, but just this past week, the U.S. government, Trump issued an order that is going to make trans people some kind of extremist terrorist based upon just the fact that you're trans means you're anti-American, you're anti-Christian, and there's one more pillar. Look, I didn't make this up. I'm just reporting what he did, but it's getting real. It's getting real. It's getting real. It's getting real. So uh, have a plan. I'll leave it at that.
Have a plan, you know. And I tell people because we went to a great school. I did not take any opportunity to do any type of foreign exchange. I was literally just trying to go to school, get what I had to do, and get out. And I know that so many people, similar to me, did not have any foreign exchange. So when you talk about having a plan, it is very difficult for people to start. It's very difficult for people to know where to start. So many people are saying, well, you didn't do your research. And I always do my best to try to point out what the research is because I know where my folks are. I know that ChatGPT could give you something, but you have to know what to put into it. You have to
Mhm.
know what it is that you're looking for. So when I ask this to people, it kind of sets the tone right now for who it is that I am. Like I'm a person, and you should be a person, but I'm a person that is going to ask you some questions. They're going to be tough. But when we're talking about moving abroad and we get on these platforms, whether it's myself or Will, we are in front of these cameras because we are doing our best to help you transform your life. The opportunity for you to transform your life is only yours and yours alone to actually do. But these steps to end up being here, even with the amount of people that we've helped, the amount of things that we've done, I guarantee you, when you were looking to leave abroad, even if you told yourself that you were going to be this person, it may have been very difficult for you to wrap your head around, but you now know how important and necessary it is. So, people that are watching this, when we talk about doing the research and starting your plan and putting these things together, what we are doing, myself, Will, we had Daniel over on yesterday with talking about immigration visas. Tomorrow, Will, you said, how am I going to retire? We've got Corey Hooks coming on. She is a financial expert tomorrow. She's going to be actually talking about why moving abroad may be the only way you can retire, how to build wealth abroad, how to take that money that you are no longer spending in just groceries, gas, and basic life, and actually put it into something where you can build wealth for you. You can actually build and start a college fund for your kids, or just fund a better normal life for yourself. These things are really important, Will, and I think a lot of people, because they are in a position to be running out of the house while it is actively on fire, they're forgetting. So, what we want to do and what we are doing, is going to have a conversation over the next couple of weeks. We have a virtual relocation conference coming up November 22nd. Myself, as well as Will, he is one of the speakers. We will be covering destinations because when we say do the research, you have to do individual research for each individual destination, unless it is packaged for you in a way where it's easy for you to follow and maintain. So, on this virtual conference, the topic is Colombia, Santa Marta, and Panama City. as well as Cali, Colombia. We have Panama out there with Will, who'll be covering life in Panama. We have Cape Town, South Africa, and we have Playa del Carmen, Mexico. These are the top places that people on this side of the world have not only put into their internet, but have been in my inbox asking me about, can I get the hookup on what life is like there? So we have all of these destinations going to be presented. We also have our immigration lawyer coming on. We have somebody being able to come talk to you about what healthcare and medical tourism looks like living abroad. If you guys are looking, as I see, we're both bald men. We don't go this route, but we could go get a whole set of hair right where we live at. These things are readily available to us at more discounted rates than what you guys are being advertised. As silly as that could possibly sound looking at the both of us. But what I tell you is these things that we brought to the conference, the parents that live abroad, so you can find out what that life is like. The student loan doctors coming. Listen, I went to Morehouse. Morehouse costs $30,000 a year. A lot of people are strapped with student loan debt and faced with it may not be the only option for them, but it may be the only option for them. So we have somebody being able to come talk to you about what that life is like. So you can pay the only pay and get everything you need to put in the bag. I think I may be lost. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Going in and out. I
You hear me?
can I can
Okay,
hear
we're
you.
getting wrapped up. Well, everybody, I appreciate okay. I appreciate everybody for joining. You guys can go to Mood Travel Abroad. Make sure you are sharing with your friends. We will see you guys July 22nd, Panama, Will, thank you. Can you tell these people how to find you, where to find you at?
Sure, sure. The website is go-explorepanama.com. You can email me at bigwill@go-explorepanama.com or just type "Go Explore Panama" into Google and it'll take you right there. It'll connect you to my WhatsApp and Facebook and all that good stuff. So get at me any way you can. I'm monitoring all channels.
Perfect. Tomorrow, like I said, you guys come right back here. We'll be on at 2 p.m. Eastern. Talking to Miss Corey Hook. She'll be talking about moving abroad, building wealth abroad. What does that look like? Retirement plan, college fund. We're gonna get into student loans on another day, but I'm talking about what you need to put in your book bag on your relocation journey. I appreciate everybody's time here, and most importantly, thank you guys as always. Once again, the website is Mood Travel Abroad. Make sure you are sharing with your friends. We want to get connected with this information, and this education and be inspired for the next
Here it is.
transformation. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it. Will, I'll talk to you soon, my brother.
All right, man. Peace out.